Hello. Narcissism. What is it and where did it come from? This mental illness, officially called narcissistic personality disorder, is found in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which is used by all psychiatrists and psychologists worldwide. This mental condition is based on the Greek and Roman myth of Narcissus, from which it gets its name. Today in 2025, this term narcissism in daily life is thrown around in everyday society when people talk about other people, but of course they never use it to refer to themselves. Whether in politics, sports, or social discussions, it's bantered about in such a way that it really sounds more like an insult than a medical condition. It's used all the time, this phrase, on television and podcasts. In fact, you can see articles routinely about narcissism, particularly on MSN.com, almost every day, with titles like, How to Identify a Narcissist, How to Deal with a Narcissist, I Lived with a Narcissist, etc. You can see videos on social media about narcissism where people in the comment sections in multitudes talk about the people in their lives who are narcissists, such as their boss is a narcissist, their father is a narcissist, their brother is a narcissist, their mother is a narcissist, their sister is a narcissist, their aunt is a narcissist, and on and on. This word is thrown around very casually, even recklessly, when it's supposed to be a very specific psychological term. I keep waiting for someone to say Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny are narcissists, since everybody else seems to be. We do know without any doubt that the story of Narcissus is a myth. Myths, as we know without any doubt, are made-up stories that never happened to people and non-human entities that never even existed. Now, the character named Narcissus in this myth is not a human being. He is the child of the river god Sisyphus and the blue nymph Liriope of Thespian. So clearly, we're not talking about a human being in the story that never happened. And Echo, one of the other main characters in the myths, is also a nymph, like Narcissus' mother. A nymph in Greek mythology is a female nature deity, typically associated with a specific location or natural feature. Echo is a wood nymph. They are often depicted as beautiful young maidens and are not immortal but have very long lifespans. So Echo is also not an actual human being. And the third main character in this myth is the goddess Nemesis, who by definition of a goddess is also clearly not an actual human being. None of the characters, Narcissus, Echo, or Nemesis, in the myth of Narcissus are human beings. So the obvious question is, how have psychologists and psychiatrists come up with a mental illness from a myth, a story that never happened, about non-human entities who never even existed? I think it's a good question, and I will give a definitive answer to that question. Mental illnesses, in fact, are based on actual case studies of actual human beings, not myths. Myths are not case studies of human beings, but often can give insights into human behavior. But no one should ever forget, these are myths, made-up stories that never happened. I fail to see how a mental illness can be based on a mythical story, instead of a mental illness being based on actual human beings and their case studies. Now, maybe I'm being too hard on modern psychologists and psychiatrists. Maybe they're just much smarter than I am. If these mental health professionals can psychoanalyze mythical characters who never existed, evolving stories about these mythical characters that never happened, then this would be an extraordinary skill, I would say. I would say such a skill that it would be right up there with something like, oh, I don't know, witch doctors, snake oil salesmen, con men, or simply quacks. Please like and subscribe to help me continue my work. In my next video, part 2 of Narcissus, I will go over the actual events in the story of Narcissus and talk about what actually happens in that myth and how the non-human entities in that myth interact, and what is the moral lesson to be gleaned from this very short myth about a story that never happened, about creatures who never existed. The link for that video is in the description. Thank you for your time.